again, thanks so much for being here. It's great to see so many of you here interested in taking part in this. Really appreciate you taking your time in the spring, the fall season, to come in and help us make sure that we're ready to go for this fall. From now on, when we meet in here, what I'd like you to do is come in and let's put the chairs around the perimeter, so that no one feels like they're in a row, but we feel like we're all connected, you know, like a team or something. That'll be really cool. So just when you come in from now on, when basketball bands get over, just grab your stuff. We'll just set up around the perimeter, and that'll also make it really easy to facilitate some small group work that we'll do as we go along. So just to make sure that we're not here with me rambling all night, I've got a few things jotted down here to kind of keep us on course. The purpose of doing this the way that we do it in the spring, first of all, is to develop leadership skills in everyone that's interested. And so whether you're selected to be a part of the leadership team or not, hopefully this is going to help you develop your leadership skills, and it will help you understand better how we do things, how we make decisions, how we get things done in the program. And especially if you are selected for a position of leadership, it's going to equip you to do that as well. We'll talk a lot about why we do things the way that we do them. We'll talk a lot about what we do and how we need you to do it. Hopefully the outcome is that we'll select the best prepared group of complementary leaders for each section to lead each given section in the Pride next year. Obviously, as we go through activities, what we're going to discover is we're not all robots, we're not all the same, so not all the leaders are going to be the same. And so it's going to be important that we, again, complementary leadership is really crucial to our success. So the first way to kind of think about that a little bit is I want you to take a moment and think about why you chose to be in the Pride in the first place. Just think about that. There's no right or wrong answer, it's just your answer. Think about what your why is in terms of why you chose to be in the Pride. Write that down on your little notepad, if you would. All right, thank you for your spirited discussion. Who would like to share their why? Anyone? Chase.
It's always been part of my life. I've always just been a dad.
So it's always been a part of your life and we're to continue to be. Cool. Hey.
I really enjoyed being in band in high school, so I decided to give it a shot in college.
I started to have a community on a life.
Okay. Great.
And my parents wanted to was I wanted to be a part of something when I came on campus.
Okay. Correct.
I've never been in such a great band, and the idea of having 10 other sousaphone players was exciting. And then there's 20 other ones.
Very cool. Okay. Yes.
To be able to play music for other people and give them the chance to listen to music that we also love.
Because I didn't do band, there was a year in high school when I didn't do band, and so I knew what that felt like, and so I knew that I never wanted to be a part of a band again.
Yes, sir.
I love making music, and this was another opportunity to do just that. So.
Thanks, Max. Yes, ma'am.
I love the motivation that like just all of us working together, even if like it's not necessarily schoolwork and stuff, that it kind of just creates. And then like outside of it, like once I see the motivation of everyone, it kind of inspires me to like do that in my school.
Kind of that momentum. Okay. Yes.
For me, it was the tradition that this particular band had, just like I just wanted to see like big, this huge family. It was something I didn't want to be part of.
Like I kind of moved off what Julie said. I always have a family to fall back on, people that care about me, especially in a place like Reed, which is huge, thousands and thousands of students.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason I joined Pride in the first place is like I saw y'all guys perform once, and I was like, I want to do that because it was just really exciting and fun, and everyone was my close friends.
Very cool. Anyone else? Lots of different reasons. And I'm sure all of you had more than one, and it may, the reasons why you stay may change over time too, but I think it's really important to recognize that everybody has a different reason why they're here. And it's that way in the section that you would lead. Why might it be important to know the whys of the people in your section? Why might that be important? Yes, ma'am.
To know how they're motivated?
Right, to know what motivates them in the first place, yes.
To make sure not to forget those, whatever you're kind of on the day.
Very good. Yes?
Yeah, like for example, this semester, I think it's really hard to get rid of this and to remind them of why they want to do this in the first place.
Yeah, everybody's excited in August, everybody's excited on Saturday. You know, November 28th, it's a little, life is happening at that point, right? There's one other really big reason that I haven't heard yet. And that is, it's really especially important to know if their why is different than yours. Because I think really frequently we can jump to the conclusion that someone doesn't care as much just because their why is different, or what motivates me may not be what motivates Zach, and so I don't get why he's not motivated right now. And so I may be stressing the wrong things for him. So I think it's important to recognize that there's so many different reasons why people would do this. It helps us lead better. So let's shift gears for a second for why I want to be a leader in the Pride of Oklahoma. I want you to take a couple minutes and really reflect. This is not a collaborative assignment. This is you individually in your heart of hearts. Use your Post-its and list as many reasons as you can think of why you want to serve as a leader. And then once you have those, I'm going to put up these nifty little poster boards up here. Just come stick them on the poster board when you're done. If you would. But take your time. We'll leave these up here for you guys to study later when we get done. I want you to pass by and check them out so you can see the richest, the different ideas that we have. But I'll just to kind of give you an idea, I want to read a couple. I want to help others have the same great experience I was fortunate to have. To share my enthusiasm with others, to have a stronger connection with Pride and those in it, to push myself as well as others to be the best Pride members we can be. To inspire others by example, to give back to the Pride, be a bigger part of the band, lead people to excellence, motivate people. I recognize that a lot goes into making the Pride work, and student leadership is one of those things. I feel obligated to do all I can to help something that's helped me. I like to keep people energized. That's good. We need that. I love being in leadership in high school. I want to be an influence to others and be someone that underclassmen and upperclassmen can go to for help. I want to invest in others. And so as I'm reading across these, again, different things. So there's just so much strength in this room in terms of where your hearts are, where your minds are, where your skills are. And when we finish today, I want you to look at what's going on each of these boards. So you'll see other people that have the same aspirations that you do. That means they probably have some of the same skills. But fortunately, you'll also see people that have widely different reasons for wanting to lead. And again, that allows us to have complementary leadership teams within each section. And I think that's one of the things that's helped us be as successful as we have been over the years. And it'll be the foundation that we continue to build on. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And please be sure to check that out on your way out. I want to talk a little bit about the things that we're hoping to develop more specifically in each of you this spring. Just creating an awareness of what our responsibilities are and a readiness to lead so that when it's time to stand in front of your peers, you've got some nervous energy, but you know you're ready. Ultimately, that's what we want to do, is equip everyone to do that. First and foremost, and don't worry, I'll send this to you in writing so you'll have it to refer back to. But I didn't want to make it feel like a class and put up a PowerPoint right off the bat. So the first thing, or the two questions that everyone wants to know that's following you are, can I trust you? And do you care about me? Those are the unspoken questions in their mind is, can I trust you and do you care about me? And so everything that we do and say as leaders has to answer those questions with a resounding yes. Absolutely you can. All right, so that's what we're gearing towards is preparing you to be able to do that. We've got to be clear and consistent in our communication with our peers in our sections, starting from the moment that we're selected all the way through when the band's announced in the summer into the season, so that we're answering those questions. Yes, yes, I'm a person you can count on to have information from. I care about you. I want you to succeed. I want us to succeed. And probably right after that is being really proactive about developing a really strong section bond, so that when you get to that later part of the semester, like Hannah was talking about, that you have that to rely on to get you through those tougher topics, because that's just real life. We want to make sure that we have that in place so that when those of us are having not a great day, we can rely on those of us that are at least having a decent day to get through that together. That's really crucial. The most important aspect is making sure that you can be a really great example in a few domains. One is communication. Two is how you rehearse, your rehearsal demeanor, how you play, how you march, and then your conduct in and out of uniform. That's what sets the tone. Being the example and setting the tone for the great organization we expect this to be. That's the most important thing that anyone that's ever been a leader has ever done for this organization. So just as you're thinking about the topics that we cover, is thinking about your readiness to be that example in any of those domains. All right? So thinking about that, at this point in our process, if you were to think about all the different things a leader does, some of which I just enumerated, some of which I didn't, think about the things that you feel really confident about. Envision yourself standing in front of the section and doing what you're comfortable with. Maybe it's leading a warm-up. Maybe it's teaching part of the music. Maybe it's explaining how we do high mark time, especially to the new members, and having them looking at you like you're from the planet Neptune, like you've never done this. What is this? Okay. I'm sure there are a number of things that any one of you would feel comfortable like immediately stepping up and saying, sure, I can be the example for that. Let me model that. Okay. Now, conversely, let's go to the other side, and if there's one thing you can think of that you hope you're never asked to provide the example for, think about what that would be, and just sort of sit there in that and what that feels like. How many have a clear picture of what that is in your mind? Raise your hand. You don't have to say what it is. Just, okay. All right, so now you have at least one thing that you're going to work to develop this spring, right? You've got the top of your list is, I want to get better at this, or at least good enough to do this until the person I know that's better at that than me can get over here to help. All right, so that's the first do no harm, first part of the Hippocratic Oath. All right, so that's the thing I would like you to think about between now and the next time that we're together. Think about, these are the things I'm confident in. These are my strengths. These are the things I can build on. And these are things I really need to get better at. These are the things I want to learn more about, or I just don't know about. Maybe it's not that I'm not good at it. I just haven't been a leader yet, so I don't know how to do this. So be proactive about that over the next couple weeks before our next meeting, and actually write down so that you come to these meetings with a definite goal. I want to get better at this. Okay? So that you're going to get more meaning out of it rather than just have it be a set and get. This is the only time we're going to have like super set and get time with me. We'll do a lot more small group discussion and brainstorming on that. So I will send that list of stuff that I did and a couple other things for you to think about before next time, so that we can do that. I'll also send out some calendar reminders of things that we're going to need your help with. A couple of requirement things. One is that in order to be considered for leadership, you need to successfully perform your music audition or your color guard audition in person or on YouTube by that April 13th date, so that we can then consider that as we prepare to go into the teaching portion of the leadership selection process. So just start planning ahead for that so it doesn't sneak up on you. With each passing year, particularly here in the last couple of years as we've been rebuilding the program, the musical level has gone up every year, and noticeably so. So again, leadership, our example being the most effective form of leadership, you're going to have to be a musical example to the people in your section in order for them to buy in to what's going on. Right, so make sure that you're good to go on that. President Warren's retiring, you might have heard. And I mentioned in the little handout that I put on Facebook, I didn't go into great detail, but the weekend of April 20th is going to be all about President and Mrs. Warren and thanking them for the amazing things they've done the last 24 years while they've been here. You know, having attended this university in the mid-'80s, I can tell you it was a really, really great place. It didn't even touch what it is now. It's so much better. I mean, just the physical transformation, the resources that we had. And you could pick any degree plan now and know that you're going to get a quality education. Back then, there were a handful of really good ones and then some pretty good ones. The other thing that he did that I think is the most tremendous is increasing the number of endowed professorships so that really upward trajectory young great professors didn't just come here, do 3 years, and then head of the coast. They've attracted and retained really fantastic people all across campus. So all that to say, we're going to be a big part of saying thank you to him that weekend. And we need you there, and we need you to help get other people to be a part of that. There's a little dinner thing that we'll kick off on Friday night, and then there'll be some sort of statue reveal on the South Oval Saturday morning. So just think of it as like a Boomer Bash pep band on steroids. It's like 150-piece Boomer Bash pep band. Enough that they feel like the whole pride is there, even though we all know it's not. Because no one understands that there is no pride right now. They're like, we need the whole pride to be there. Yes, sir, the whole pride will be there. And it wasn't actually him, but if he called me, that's what I would have said. The person for public affairs said, yes, ma'am, we'll have the whole pride there. And so I immediately thought, well, if we have 150 people in uniform, we can kind of spread out a little bit. It'll look just like that. And particularly the indoor portion, it's going to be so just head-splittingly loud that they'll be, if they do start counting, they'll actually be glad that there's only 150 of us. So just please make sure that that's on your calendar. We really need your help, and we'll probably ask for your help in recruiting some people as well. Friday, April 20th, and Saturday, April 21st. They'll both be pretty short. I'd imagine you're looking at probably, Friday may be a little longer if they want us to play at the beginning and the end, but we'll make sure that you're fed. And then Saturday morning will be just probably kicking off the ceremony, maybe the unveil. Yes?
For those of us who like had to rent instruments,
We will give you an instrument to use free of charge. So yeah, you'll just use it, bring it back, and we'll get it cleaned up and get good to go. So yeah. So thanks in advance to George and Maddie and all the uniform people for putting everything back together so we can have band for those 2 days. All right. Also, other little homework assignment for you to be thinking about. Later this semester, we'll ask you to go ahead and submit a letter of application that sort of gives you a chance to campaign for the job in written form, and a resume, and you'll solicit recommendations from people in your section. Can you get recommendations from other sections? No, because you don't lead those people. I mean, it would be great to know that they think you're awesome, but in terms of the actual job you're applying for, it's really not as relevant as making sure that you have quality recommendations from people in your section. So we'll give you the specifics on that, but I want you to be able to start thinking about that. You'll submit that, we'll review those things, we'll observe you, how you interact, and you do a lot of problem solving and idea sharing in these sessions, and then we'll watch how you teach and do those things, because those are the main things that you need to do. The first 12 years I was in this job, we used to do interviews. We sit down and interview everyone. Every one of you knows what we want to hear, and you'll tell us exactly what we want to hear. So we're not going to do that because it's like we're just checking a box. I felt like it was not as important as seeing you work. So just realize, every time you come in this room, you're interviewing. And I didn't do a good enough job last spring of explaining that. How you approach what we do in here, and how you approach the teaching episodes that you'll have, that's your interview. That and the written case that you make in your letter. Okay, so I just want to be sure we're all on the same page about that before we go on to other stuff. Any questions about that? All right, now, the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to break each session that we have into 3 little chapters. One will be a leadership topic, like we just finished, or some business items. 2 will be dealing with teaching, either the visual side or the music side, kind of debriefing how things went this last season, how we want to move them forward, and then how we're going to teach, be it music or drill. And then the third pillar will be spending time starting to talk about shows that we want to do and some brainstorming and things of that nature. I don't know if you checked out the schedule yet. We're going to be really busy in September. We have 4 home games in September. What? I know. We have 2 back-to-back. Then we'll go to Iowa State with the pep band, and then we have 2 back-to-back. So we will have, we have 7 home games this year. Woo! Yeah, that happens about once every 15 years. I can't remember the reason why, but it gets to this year. But here's a couple things that I need you to know. And Mr. Buecker is going to take you through some show planning stuff here in just a little bit. In September, I just today got confirmation. We played Army on September 22nd. And there's going to be this big spectacular. There's going to be stuff flying in the air. We're going to have all kinds of cool stuff going on. That halftime won't be part of the initial planning process. It's going to be like all Army and all America all the time. So what that looks like, it sounds like, we'll flesh out later, but just so you know, I went to a 2-hour meeting today about that. It should be pretty cool. We're going to have some actual military units here and stuff. It's going to be really awesome. The other thing I heard back from athletics on today and got approval, Boston Brass is going to come perform with us on September 29th. So that will be that halftime, and we're hoping to work it out where they're going to do a residency like on Friday before, and then hopefully perform with the Wind Symphony on Monday. So that's all in the mix. But that still leaves us with, other than the Veterans Day show, it leaves us with 4 concepts that we need to flesh out that you guys can talk about a little bit. All right, so that's the basic overview. I'm going to stop talking now and introduce Dr. Wolfe, who's going to talk a little bit about some visual stuff. So, Dr. Wolfe.
Hey guys. One housekeeping thing, be careful. Some of you I've seen already here have not signed in on the Qualtrics in order to let us know that you're interested in the position and to fill out that initial application, okay? Make sure you've done that. It's all on the Pride Facebook page, and there was information about dates. Some of you have asked, well, what are these dates? What are we doing? All the information's there, okay? The first step being leader is knowing always what's going on, okay? So first thing I want you to do is mix the room out. You sit next to somebody you don't know. There's many of you in here who may not know someone. Don't sit next to somebody who's in your section or that you hang out with a lot, okay? Go. First thing we talked about today was the fact that you guys have specific reasons why you want to be in Pride, all right? You have specific reasons why you want to be leaders, and people in your sections have specific reasons. Okay, all these reasons can combine and become one. All these reasons can be different. So the strength of what we do as a marching band relates to diversity, and that's the cool thing that makes us so unique. Is there's different majors, there's different type of people, there's different reasons why they want to be here, there's reasons why they don't want to be here, and that makes us who we are as the Pride. And there's only one, and so we need to define what we do into one idea. Okay. Real quick, how many of you will not be a teacher? You don't want to be a teacher? Awesome. What are you going to do? Okay, so what does that mean? You're going to build a tree? Perfect. Okay, so are you going to work by yourself?
No, I would work with a team of researchers.
Will you be the lowest level researcher your whole life?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Good point. So you probably will have a team of people underneath you, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to train them?
Probably or do I really want to go take them out to the field and train them?
So you'll teach them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be a teacher, okay. Who else is not gonna be a teacher?
Veterinary medicine, biovoluntary.
What do you wanna do with that?
Well, I'm a vet, I
A
also.
vet, okay, are you gonna be? I know what that is. So, you're gonna be somebody who works by yourself?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Are you going to have maybe your own practice?
That's the dream.
Ah, nice. So people will work for you, right? So you'll have maybe interns because you're going to be really good at what you do. So people are going to want to work with you. So you'll have interns. What does that mean? So you're going to teach, right? Okay, we got another teacher. Who else? Who else?
I'm an art student.
Yes! What are you going to do?
I have no idea.
What about your major is your favorite thing?
I like to draw.
You draw.
Yeah.
What, anything specific, or you draw for yourself, or?
I've kind of always just like drawn in every notebook I've gotten, like in school, just like all.
Just lots of sketches, and
Yeah.
have you ever thought about designing or creating like a mural,
Really?
like big scale thing,
A little bit.
maybe?
I really draw really big.
Oh. So if you, say you had to do a mural, like overpass, giant overpass, you probably do it on your own.
You got her.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you want to make sure it's got like your mark on it. Okay. What if? What if you are this famous mural artiste, which you will be, and people want to learn from you? Would you want to have students?
I could post videos on YouTube.
Ah, so a teacher. You see where I'm getting with this? Okay. So many of you who want to be a leader, how many think that is not a teacher? Okay, so you've seen over the last season, because all of you have marched for at least 1 year, okay, how effective that leadership role is when you have a good teacher and someone who can explain things well and can show you the process of what to do, okay? Marching fundamentals, that's a lot of process, right? And so we talked last season about a procedure sheet and how to use that and what to do with it, okay? We did a good job of getting in on the initial stages of using the procedure sheet, but I think we can go now to the next level of really integrating it so that it's maybe not just for marching, but some other things that we do, okay? The procedure sheet basically tells you what to do in a logical order so you don't forget anything, okay? Pilots use procedure sheets every single moment of flying. It's, you know, if this happens, then do this, and this, and this, okay? It's not a matter of getting in the plane and then thinking, once you're in the sky, did we add fuel? I don't know. Okay, so this procedure sheet's going to give you tips and tricks in order to make things happen sequentially, which make teaching easier and make learning easier for your sections, okay? There's a few other things as far as technique that we've done that we've kind of started, but it's not a defined look. We have a much more defined look this past season than we have in previous seasons. You agree? Okay. The need to have just a very, very clear understanding of what we're doing, I think, is still really important. Okay. As you teach, some of you are still pulling things and technique that you used in high school as far as teaching technique, but sometimes the marching technique also comes from maybe what you did in high school as well. So, for example, your mark time in your high school, that's embedded in what you do. The freshmen come in, that's embedded with what they do because they've done that for 4 years or more, okay? So it's physical habit. And then to get here and do something different makes your mind explode a little bit, but that's okay, okay? So we'll talk about a little bit more of how the procedure sheet works and what we want to do with that. It's specific to movement and fundamentals, okay? So the next meeting we'll get more detailed into that and be able to get into some actual teaching where you guys break into groups and start to go through the process, okay? The other thing, teaching is not always telling, right? You've got to show people how to do things, and you've got to remind them and you know, we rework the system sometimes so people will understand what it is that you mean, okay? How we put on the uniform is an important part of what we do as far as the visual side of what we're about, okay? How you wear the uniform, making sure that the spats are on the correct way is a functional thing of marching, right? Because if you've got the buttons in the middle, what happens? You trip, right? Okay? They come apart, it's ugly. So obviously, the function of the spat is a visual aspect, but there's a way to put it on specifically, okay? Fast forward to how we move and play, okay? If we're not able to move in the same manner, okay, and style, then musically, it's not going to be as impactful, okay? We've got a really great definition of how we work with sound, and we're improving on that every rehearsal, and the concept is really firm, and so we want to make sure that the visual concept is just as firm, okay? Right now, I want you to take your little post-it notes, and I want you to write about, whether you were on leadership last year or not, doesn't matter, but I want you to write about what was successful in the fundamental teaching process of what we did last season, so during camp, okay? Over the Friday fundamentals and fellowships, what worked well, either if you taught and were a leader or as you were in that process. Talk about the high points, things that went really well last season, okay? All right, who wants to read what they wrote?
I said during camp when we would get into really small groups and come back and get into the because then you're able to see like the big picture, but also get the individual help that you need.
Detail it out, good.
I think the debriefing that like all the leaders were doing like amongst each other, like we were all communicating about like what was going on to make sure we were all teaching it like in a similar way, to make sure like the leader had the technique down correctly too, so they could go teach it correctly.
Good.
Verbals increased focus and also helped everybody remember what they were.
Good. All right.
I like things like split up into like big groups that went around sections. Each section leadership would teach.
A mix of different instrument sections. Julie.
I think the marching audition this year was the most successful that it's been, at least as long as I've been at the school, because the marching audition was the beginning of pregame. So it was all being implemented later on in the season. It wasn't just like things that we implemented in shows, but it was directly like what pregame was going to be. So it made pregame look super good too.
Good. Okay.
I thought it was good when we videoed, when we broke into the smaller groups and they take a video and immediately show us what we marched so that we could see exactly what our own mistakes were and fix them.
One more.
I think that breaking things down by like piece by piece is really helpful and really breaking things down and appreciate it.
Cool. Good. So a lot of really good things happening with communication, with teaching, working through what was the procedure sheet. So level by level, everything was very sequential. Okay. That was really beneficial for our new members. How many of you in here were freshmen last season? Or still freshmen? How many of you sophomores, juniors, seniors, 4+ years? Awesome. Anybody 5 years? Okay. So the integration of what we're doing, we're talking about diversity, which is really the cool thing about what we do. But we've got to make sure that there's only one idea. Getting everybody on the same page for fundamentals is really critical to building the success and trust. That individual detail that you were able to give, I think, helped build a level of trust that makes everybody more part of the community as the season goes on. Okay, so you know, as we're working slides in the middle of the season and no one really wants to work on slides, but we still need to fix some shoulders and things like that. You've built that trust at the beginning of the season in order to create that listening environment in the middle of the season when they don't want to listen, but then they still do, okay? What are some things that we need to work on improving with the fundamental process?
One thing whenever we were going with small groups and we had leadership in all the sections, sometimes I do like one person who's kind of just taking charge, and the people are just like looking and giving feedback. So I think it'd be better to utilize all of the leadership that are in those groups, maybe by breaking that initial group into smaller groups, so everyone is contributing.
Okay.
I think maybe older members should already be agreement, yeah.
Oh, cool, okay. Talk about our class.
Continual application of the fundamentals, like don't just like give up if it's not working, try something different, because like people would.
Good, yeah. Diversity in teaching, okay.
Yeah, mine's actually really similar to hers. Like us as leaders, knowing how, like when to be flexible, like because we like learn differently, we also have to teach differently sometimes for the individual.
Cool. Good. What else?
Doing drills just to do them. This isn't necessarily centered towards band camp, but farther on as we get throughout the year. Like we'll just be like, okay, we're going to do this drill that we've done 605 times before, and everyone's just kind of like, oh, okay. And like you don't take the same amount of detail and attention that you do beginning of the year. It's kind of just like, I think that's something that we should do.
Okay, increase that.
I think as leaders, when we teach, we need to not be afraid to be really, really picky. A lot of times we're given like 5 minutes or so to go over something and get finished in 2 minutes rather than say like, okay, just like take the other 3 minutes off. Like find those small things, we can always improve, there's always things.
Go for the next level, yeah.
Communication and information to those not in leadership.
I really like that. That's getting the information from the top to go down, right? Okay, good. What else?
Said more consistent peer modeling, so maybe like reward the people who are getting hang of it and help them start integrating them into like teaching process.
Okay. So as the success level builds, everybody becomes successful in order to create the help needed for those that need it.
Making sure that between leaders, they're thinking the same information is what needs to be distributed to people, like the non-leadership people, you know.
The rest of your section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that not every comment has to be a negative comment. There can be some positive.
Yeah. Build people up, okay? And that, when you've got a criticism and you need to really get to the point, it's not going to become personal kind of thing.
Ensuring that the leaders are setting a good example each rep, so if we're doing multiple reps in a row, making sure that leaders and upper class even aren't getting sloppy and not getting 100% each time, so that they're a good model each and every time.
Yeah. Being able to walk the walk is important as a leader, because if you're going to say, this is the model, but not be that model at all times, it sends a contrary message, okay? Because as the leader, everyone's looking up to you whether you want to be that person or not. By sitting in this room and taking that first step for next season, this is the beginning of our season. Not in August, not in July, not when we finish up auditions and set the band. Today is, okay? And how we move to that next level and get better musically, visually, with outreach that we do within the program, all these things are based off of that leadership model that you guys are setting right now being in here. Okay, cool.
More instances of leaders without a title, so people who have been through the drill, but because they're not on the leadership team, feel like they can just kind of not care when they're still being a role model for them.
Exactly, yeah. And in them understanding that just because you don't have a title doesn't mean you're not a leader of the program. Okay. How many of you were leadership in high school? Drum major, section leader? Look around the room. Every single person in here, right? Okay. And many of you were not on leadership last year, right? But you set the example, many of you did, for other freshmen or an upperclassman, maybe that you inspired when they were having a hard day. And the person in their squad that was the worst marcher at band camp was now kicking their butt. Okay, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna really do it. Okay, so being able to see how the season's going and pick some things as far as building up your section, being positive, can all start with the basic fundamental of just good posture and setting that and help each other out. When I said earlier, walk the walk, talk the talk, you've got to also understand how to specifically teach and what to say and what words can be concise and make the most sense so that they impact those in your section very quickly, okay? you've had experiences where, you may have been put in front of a group and you just didn't feel ready to lead yet because you weren't sure what to do. Okay, going back to the procedure sheet, that's where your mind can go to that window and say, okay, here's the first step of, I better clean the mark time in 5 minutes. Here's what I do. Okay. One other thing that we need to improve on. What's to say something?
Probably putting as much emphasis on the shows that we do the actual halftime shows. Because I think some people forget that the drills are what make the halftime shows good. So probably just criticizing them as well.
Good. And excellent segue because we're linked in the minds. Right on a new page, as far as learning drill, what are some really successful things that we did this past season for halftime? And think more about learning the drill, cleaning the drill. What are some positive things that happened? And then when you've written a few things down, the positives, what are some things we need to improve on for halftime? But I also want you to list what we can do to fix those things, okay? So for example, my iPad never worked and I wasn't a great example, but I can charge it right before rehearsal because I had 2 hours. Those kinds of things, all right? And if you don't have an answer, say I don't have an answer to this. All right, in the last few moments together, next week, not next week, the next time we meet, we're gonna get into actual marching, okay? So make sure you've got footwear ready for that, okay? And what I want to do now, take these last few seconds, take your Post-its positives, I want you to put on this side, so these are the positive things we talked about, go here on these 2 boards. Anything we need to improve upon, I want you to put on the other 2 of the websites we're in, okay? Take some time and put some stickers up. Marching fundamentals is where we'll start this meeting. Think about different ways in which to teach each fundamental. Okay, obviously there's going to be one style and one look that we're going to go with, but you've got to, as a teacher, come up with many different ways and avenues to get that information to everyone, so we do the same thing at the same time, the same way. Okay, that's what precision will mean when the audience sees us at halftime, pre-game, and even in the parade into the stadium kind of thing. Okay. So those are some little details to be thinking about for our next meeting, and we'll go over a little bit of halftime things of what we thought were good and things we need to improve on. Okay? Awesome. All right. Mr. Buecker is going to be next with a little info on halftime show design.
Okay. Now the fun part. Okay. So yeah, Mr. Britt already explained what the schedule's like. That's it on paper. All the red games are home games, plus in Texas. So if you consider band camp and then the first 2 weeks of school, you're going to learn pregame and 2 halftime shows. Okay. Then the following next 3 weeks, you're going to be learning 2 more shows. And out of those 4, one of those will take OU Texas the next week. So when we go through this process of selecting music, finding show ideas and things like that, keep that on the front burner. If you decide, I want to play, I think we should play this great piece by XYZ, I don't know. But it's really hard. Might not be a good thing for us in the first 4 games or something. Okay? The Boston Brass, that's in there as well, okay, the Baylor. Then we have the Veterans Day show, we'll be playing on the show. And Mr. Britt, is this one of the, is this a 4-year cycle?
Yeah, so we'll do the whole Armed Forces salute with all the different service songs.
Okay.
We'll have a lot of stuff up.
So yeah, so we won't ask you guys to plan for that show, or probably the Boston Brass show. I think they have some ideas and some shows they've already done that will make fit with us, okay? So, ultimately, here are our variables we have to deal with. Obviously, from people that have done this process before, we have to deal with licensing things. You might have a great idea, like you might want to do a tribute to Prince or something. Unfortunately, we can't get rights to do those kind of things. So that's always an issue. And we're going to give you some tools that as you're going through the process, I think you'll be able to do a little bit of research to find out if this is a really viable idea that you've got. Okay? So we'll kind of go through that. Take into consideration how we learn things. Like, we're what, 4 days a week? And, you know, we've got 45 minutes or so for drill, or maybe 30 minutes. And we got, you know, we do a lot of things in a short amount of time. So consider that when you're thinking about show music. We want to continue to always address the audience. You know, we've got a lot of different demographics in the stadium. And obviously the idea is that at least one time during the semester or during the season, we're going to connect with everybody in that stadium. Okay? They're at least going to come away with, I like that show. That was neat. I don't like anything else they did. But at least okay? So that's our goal. So we want to think about any big anniversaries that are occurring this year. I know that the Army game is going to represent, I think this year is the 100th anniversary of ROTC on the East Campus. And we're going to celebrate that next year at the Army game. Okay. But finding ideas like that, or big events, big celebrations, those kind of things that are occurring. Lastly, think about being true to who we are. You've undoubtedly seen YouTube videos of bands doing things that, you know, oh, that might be really cool to do, but is it really going to fit into what we do? And I'm not saying that we can't push the envelope a little bit. I hope that you will, in terms of maybe doing some different ideas that we haven't traditionally done, but we want to keep that in retrospect to who we are, okay? So, here's our resources and what we're going to try to get out of this whole process, okay? Obviously, a ton of stuff on YouTube, right? You can Google things, you know, musical ideas, show ideas, things like that. We want to discover music that is appropriate to our audiences, okay? For example, I believe that during the Army game, they're going to be celebrating the beginning of ROTC. So that's going to be music from around the 1970s, okay? So kind of consider that. You know, we've got young students your age in the stands. We've got recent graduates, you know, that maybe grew up 20 years before you did. We've got parents, you know, that are in their 40s and 50s. We've got grandparents. So we've got all the different range of things, so we've got to consider that, okay? So I think we should look at, you know, different styles of music, different genres of music. If you find a cool mashup of something, you know, those kind of things. We want to develop some concepts and some themes for these show ideas. It doesn't necessarily just have to be, oh, we're going to play rock music. You know, we did tour around the world. That kind of conceptual idea of it's not just music, it's got something else. And we also want to start to get you guys to explore some like visual effects. You know, you've seen bands. OSU last year, I think, had those big 3-foot wide fabrics. You know, it was like the stripes on the flag. Those kind of things. They're simple to do, but they're really effective, okay? So take a look at what we have at our disposal, like what we have in the stadium, you know, what we can do. We're not trying to like set the world on fire or anything, but I think that's an evolutionary step for the program visually. Okay? So that kind of all ties back into how we design these shows, or how you guys pick these shows. Okay. So in a little bit, we're going to divide into 6 groups. And we'll just put them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? We want to divide all of you, well, we want to divide each section evenly, okay? So I don't want all the drummers going in one group. I don't want all the, you know, flute players going in one group. So let's spread out, okay? That's part of this leadership process. Step outside your comfort zone a little bit and go to a group that maybe nobody else or none of your friends are in, or nobody in your section is in. What I'd like you to do for today is flesh out a plan in those groups about how you're going to go out and research some of this information so that when we do come back for our next meeting, we've got ammunition to sit down with everybody and say, I have found these ideas, and I found this music, and I think it's great. We don't want to just show up at the next meeting and start the process of researching these ideas, okay? So delegate that out as a group, and we'll move from there. To me, I see that as basically everybody kind of divvying up assignments. Like, okay, I'm gonna go search YouTube, or I'm gonna go on the Apple Music or Google Tune, whatever, and find music, of different ideas. And I think each group should come up initially with several ideas, okay? And as this process continues, we'll whittle those down, we'll fine tune them and whittle them down, and then eventually each group will present one idea, okay? So, here's what you want to delegate. Have some people look up what's happening in 2018. What are the big milestone events? Is there a music that's 50th anniversary or something? Or this band started this year and they're a legend in music or something. So groups, genre, styles, we already talked about that. Okay, a lot of different things. Don't just go into it and say, I think we should play Shostakovich. I think we need to do a classical show. Well, one, think about the number of people that's going to connect with in our stadium. Is that a more viable vehicle than maybe a country show? Those kind of things. I'm not passing judgment, but we in a sense, it's sort of like we've got, our job is to make sure we connect with the audience. We entertain, okay? We don't want people going out and getting hot dogs and things like that. Assign some people to go search YouTube, okay? Look at other universities, what they've done, okay? We don't want to copy them. We want to take an idea and evolve it in a way that fits us, okay? And again, some of the visual ideas, if you guys have experience from, like when you were in high school or drum corps, or you've seen other schools do something, that could just be another layer of something we add. We don't know what's going to happen, but if somebody has a great idea and it's easy to achieve and it's effective, then we'll do that, okay? And we're going to reconvene at about 6:55, so that's going to give you 15 minutes to kind of get your minds wrapped around, okay, this is my group. We all kind of have a job that we're going to do for, when do we meet again? 3 weeks? Okay, yeah. 22nd. So you've got a couple of weeks to kind of do that homework, okay, before we all come back together. All right? Sweet. So I'll leave it up to you guys to democratically disperse into 6 groups.
Reason's 40 years old. We gotta do it. So bad. We have to do it.